Okay.
There's my glasses.
The cloud will send you an email when you'll be able to send it out or have somebody,
Yeah, I did that for my annual report I gave via virtually this last year since we didn't have a
What do
convention.
you got a host? Got it. Something was on my stupid computer.
I see Deborah is on.
Greeting from Puerto Rico.
Oh, hello.
Mark Mickelson from New Mexico.
Well, in a minute, I'm going to ask everyone who is a new president to just introduce yourself. I know there have been some changes. I thought we'd just have a chance to see. I don't know how many people are going to be on. We don't have a full page yet, so.
I'm looking the wrong way. This is so confusing. How do you put?
Linda, also to suggest to everyone to mute unless they're speaking.
Yes, thank you. If you would all do that, just remember where the mute button was. Somebody on the NEB meeting, I think it was President Shackelford told people to hit, I think it was hit the space bar and it would temporarily unmute them. Has anybody tried that?
You hold the space bar down, and while it's down, you heard. As soon as you
Okay.
use it,
And I'm
you're
doing
back
it
on
right
mute.
now.
Okay, so that does work then. All right, so rather than having to find your unmute, it sounds like if you just want to make a comment, hold the space bar down and you can, as long as you're talking and holding as long as you're holding the bar down, you can talk. That was an interesting piece of information. Suda was shaking her head. Yeah, she heard the same thing. You always find these little pieces of information like that. Well, it is 12:01.
Just for those benefit of those who are using an Apple computer, holding the space bar down does not work.
Oh, that's what I have. Okay, so
Well, that's not true because I'm on an Apple computer.
Apple computer, it doesn't work. It just gives you a bunch of noise.
It works for me. I'm on a Mac.
I am as well.
okay, so well, let me. Yep, it works for me, and I'm on a MacBook Pro. So, okay, all right. So it sounds like at least for most of us who have Macs, we're doing okay. All right, so got recording on, and we're here. I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting. It's 12:02. And just to introduce myself, I'm Lynn Harper. No, I'm kidding. Lynn, I sort of asked me if I would take over for her when she moved up to the RVP position. So I am the Federation president from California. And this is my 4th year as a Federation president. So I'm going to be working my way out of a job here over the next 6 months. Although I intend to completely stay involved, but I'm not going to be Federation president after the end of June. Okay, so I sent everybody an agenda, which there are a couple of issues that are prominent that we need to talk about. And then there is the list of things that Lynn had been collecting as the ongoing issues, items that we have, and we need to take a look at how much of that we might be able to cover or to talk about where we are with those. When we get to that point, I'll be frank, there's some things that I know that it's a concern, but I don't know who brought it up, and I don't know what the prior discussion might have been. So you're going to have to help me out with that. And I'm even going to propose that when we get through this, that I might send out a little survey through SurveyMonkey or something to you guys, and just ask for these issues, what are your priorities? Because we're getting a fairly long laundry list now, and I think we want to try to figure out which ones we need to address first. So before we go any further, what I would like to do is ask any of you who are new presidents, if this is your first meeting you're attending, to please raise your hand, and let's ask you what federation you're representing now, and who you replaced, and so we know kind of what we're who we're talking to. Right now, I don't see any names. Let me see who's on the second page. If anybody's there that I don't see them, and you, oh, I see
Yes,
Joseph Kowalik.
And Thomas.
Okay, so let me talk to to Joseph first. Joseph, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Joseph Kowalik. I'm the brand new Federation President for the New Hampshire chapter.
Welcome, Joseph. I assume you've been a Federation and chapter officer for a long time.
I've been a chapter vice president for many years. I stepped away for a while and came back into my chapter as the treasurer. And then the Federation was looking for a president and a secretary. And so somehow I happened to fill that position. So brand new, learning a lot already from Robert Pierce and Jeff, my regional director.
Well, great. Welcome, and anything we can all do to help you, I'm sure we will do that. Now, was that Thomas Link that I was hearing?
No, but you're hearing me now, though.
Oh, there you are. Okay, so you're the and you took over in New Jersey, or
No, I'm the president of the North Carolina Federation.
North Carolina. Okay.
With 4,000 members across our state and 25 chapters. Previously, I was the executive vice president of the Federation. I'm currently still the president of the Carolyn C. London chapter in Durham, North Carolina. And I saw my immediate past president on here, Henry Bratley.
Henry.
I'm sure, whom I'm sure is no stranger to you. So happy to be here. Our annual meeting is May the 10th, so we are going gangbusters trying to get that all put together. And
yeah, you're like us. We're doing May 8th through the 10th. So in fact, I want to talk about that later on, because I think there's quite a few federations that are having federation meetings in May, June timeframe. So we'll have to talk about that when it comes to setting our next meeting. So I see Mark Mickelson has his hand raised.
Yeah, I'm Mark Mickelson. I'm the president of the New Mexico Federation now. I took Sharon Reese's place.
Right.
She was elected recently as our Region 7 vice president. And we're excited about our Federation conference too. We're having that in Santa Fe on April 28th and 29th.
Okay, all right. That ought to be a beautiful location too. Well, welcome, Mark. We're glad to have you on board with us. Mary Traxler, and I think you have a last name, but oh, that's Washington. Okay. Traxler is your last name. Greetings, Mary. You're muted. Mary, you're muted.
I clicked it once, it didn't take. Okay. I'm Mary Traxler. I'm filling in for Craig Henry, who is our president, and he is at an in-person chapter meeting today.
And I had gotten his name as well. This is great. Thank you for coming in, Mary. And Pat White, is it Whiteley, Pat?
Yes, it's Whiteley.
Whiteley?
But
okay.
I go by Whitley because that's how most people pronounce it here in the South. I'm not exactly new, but I still consider myself new because I have no clue about most of this stuff. I'm finishing my first year starting in April. And I've been to the other virtual conferences that we've done. And I wasn't able to go to the national conference. That
Scottsdale?
was my goal, but I got COVID, so I couldn't travel. And we're having, South Carolina is going to have their first in-person meeting or conference starting 27 to 29 March. So my deadlines are coming up fast and I'm having trouble getting everything coordinated because I've been involved with conferences, but never as the Federation president. We're having it in Somerville, South Carolina, which is the most western suburb of Charleston, South Carolina. So
Well,
we're
good
hoping
luck.
we can get some people from the headquarters to either Zoom in or come to visit. Kathy Hensley is in our federation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm still waiting to hear from Tawanda about who can come where, you know,
Right. And
of all the speakers.
And Francine Garner also can help you with sponsorships and vendors for your
Yes.
conference as well.
Yeah,
So-
I'm waiting. I've applied for all that and I'm waiting to hear. I mean, I contacted my local Blue Cross Blue Shield because, you know, they're right here in Charleston.
Right.
And they're always cooperative, even though, you know, they're a national affinity partner.
We
of our-
did the same thing, you know, it's like, those long-term relationships we have with some of those, especially all of the federal employee health programs, you know, we're not gonna just let the national take care of that for us. We're gonna maintain those, so.
Yeah, and
Don't
I'm glad
forget
that they took it over this year because the last I had heard from Clarence before he left as RVP was that we were going to have to do our individual contacting. And then I heard, no, now headquarters is doing it for us. So that's a relief for me because of connecting all the dots. I'm having a little trouble sometimes.
Well, and especially if you start out new and you don't have a lot of some people that have been through it multiple times and, you know, they've got all the contacts and they know the
And
steps
that's
of
my
the process,
unfortunate,
the
that's
timeline.
my unfortunate part, Linda, is my mentor, who was not the immediate past president, but he was 2 administrations ago, he died. And
Oh.
he took a whole wealth of information with him. I got some stuff, but we didn't get everything. And we're just kind of struggling with some of our stuff.
Right.
But we're working through it, so.
Well, there's a lot of people in this group that have done this stuff before and have contacts too. So I'm sure there's people that would be willing to reach out. You know, one of the reasons we started this quarterly meeting concept was that we're getting some
Mute, somebody mute.
yeah. When, you know, this was happening just as a once a year meeting that would occur like at the joint meeting with the NEB or if there was another opportunity to go in person to do something there. Otherwise, it was like every 2 years with that. But that we didn't have collective access to everybody's email. And we weren't meeting often enough to really get to know one another and to work as a group to get things done or to surface our issues from the Federation perspective up to the NEB and keep those issues in front of them. So there was a group that got together and sort of started this, and it's continued on now for my 4 years. I think we started right about the time I came in 2019. So I have been really happy with the ability we've had to surface issues and put some spotlights on the things as we see them that are impediments to membership and some of those major issues we have. So I'm saying this kind of as I'm coming towards the end of my tenure, that I really want to see this continue. And some of you guys are just coming into office will be a big part of making sure that happens. So think about that and see this as an important vehicle, I think, in the communication strategy and the ability to call on one another, especially when you're coming in and it's like, how do I do this thing I've never done before? So there's a lot of good old hats here that have been around for a long time, so. Yeah, we are keeping a membership, the Federation President's List with contact information. Pat Whiteley has agreed to keep up the list for us. And if you have changes in your federation, if I or somebody else sends out a message and it gets to you and you're no longer in that position, please forward it on to the new person and let Pat and myself know that there's a change to that address list so that we're not sending information out to the wrong people or leaving somebody out. The other thing I want to say about that is if you have somebody that needs to be possibly on the list as an observer, let us know as well, because there's a couple of federations where the principal president may or may not be able to get on, but there is a backup for them. And I have no problem with letting that person know when the meetings are so that somebody from that federation can sit in on. Okay, so welcome to all of you, you new guys, and buckle up. It'll be an interesting ride. So,
Linda,
yes.
quick question.
Mhm.
The person who's on the phone can mute their phone directly. I don't know how to do it from Zoom, but whoever's on that phone keeps interrupting.
Is that our friend from Kansas?
They end in 8506. If your phone ends in 8506, please mute it.
Okay, yeah, that's me, and I'm back to driving, and I'm on Bluetooth with the pickup, so I guess maybe that's too much interference, and I can't do that.
Just mute it if you can, so you can listen.
Well, just mute your phone. You got a smartphone?
Yeah.
Should be a mute button there.
But I'm on the Bluetooth, so.
I think it would still work.
I think it would. Mine will. Okay. I see Cynthia's got her hand up. You're muted too.
As far as what Pat was talking about, I wanted to let her know, don't forget about her local people, that she can get speakers to come to whatever function she's doing. You know, like the fire department and Social Security or whatever's in her area to help her get whatever
that's
she's
what I'm
doing.
doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm using my local chamber of commerce to reach out to businesses for donations and gift bag items. And the response has been kind of spotty,
and I have no clue what I'm doing, so I'm winging it just like you. So good luck.
The worst part is they never respond to your email, you know, and then you don't have, if you try to call the phone number on the website or use the website to contact them and ask them for information, you don't get any response. It's very frustrating.
Well, if you have,
how do I get rid of the hand? How do I get rid of the hand?
You have a thing down there at the bottom on reactions, I think it is, under reactions. Oh, no, that's not it.
Mine's at the top. Let's see.
Click on
lower hand, lower hand.
Yes.
Yeah, click on participants and then lower hand.
Yeah.
Lower hand. Okay, I did it.
Okay, let's go on from there to, I sent, well, actually, Lynn Harper sent you all the minutes in December from the November meeting. And now I have a feeling there's some new folks that probably didn't get the November meeting. We're not able to discuss the Scottsdale meeting for reasons that are beyond, but we wound up going over several of the issues. Do most of you have the November meeting minutes? So did you have a chance to look at them? Because I'd like to have them approved so we can move on from there. I said Earl raised his hand.
Yeah, I've just read them and I would move that we approve those minutes. They're quite thorough.
Lloyd Woods, Maine, I second it.
Okay, so Earl Knudsen has moved that we approve the minutes, and Lloyd Woods has, from Maine, right? Did you say, Lloyd?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, as seconded. So do I hear any objection to approving the minutes, just because I see Tim Gardner's hand is raised? Tim?
Thank you, Lynn. Yes, I just sent out to everybody additions to the minutes because they were never put in the minutes that went out yesterday. And it's to group 2 of the Federation President's meeting. Everybody that's on the president list should have received those about 22 minutes ago. So look in your email. You should have some additions to those minutes.
Now, Tim, was that for the minutes from the November 3rd meeting or the minutes from Scottsdale? Because we haven't talked about Scottsdale yet.
Okay, I was not, nope, it's to the Scottsdale minutes.
Okay, so would you hold that for a minute?
Yes, I will.
All right, we'll get back to that, okay? Okay, so the November 3rd minutes, if I see no objections, then I'm going to move that we accept those minutes as approved. Okay. You'll have to pardon me because I don't speak Robert's Rules of Order, so just think that I know what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, so we've approved the November 3rd minutes. And that brings us to the Scottsdale meeting, the FedCon 22. And at that at Scottsdale, we had the Federation President's meeting, and a couple things happened there. One is we had a full agenda of topics that we covered. From that agenda, a lot of lively discussion. We have some issues that we came out with, and what we had planned on doing is to come up with, from that whole list, some issues that we want to present to the national president, Bill Shackelford, and to the NEB that we would like them to work on. So I'm going to turn this over to Deborah Corner, who is the Federation president from Arizona, and Deborah was our leader for the Scottsdale meeting and did a yeoman's job of putting all this together for that couple days that we were there, and then consolidating and synthesizing it. And then Deborah, I'd like to make sure that we get Tim an opportunity to talk about what additions he is proposing to add to the minutes. So are you
ready?
Ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to turn it over to you, okay?
Okay. And I commiserate with all you new folks because I was totally new coming in also. And to run a Federation President's meeting during the conference was quite interesting, put it that way. And Arizona will probably never have to do it again, so I'm good with that. First, I would like to apologize for the lateness of the minutes. And one of the reasons was that I fell shortly after that meeting. Well, not shortly, it was in September. And I couldn't sit for a long time. So anyway, that was for the lateness. I hate starting off any type of presentation with apologies, but my second apology would be to Tim. Tim, I promised you that those changes were going to be in there, and I see that they didn't make it. So I apologize to you for that. We'll get those in.
That's okay, ma'am. They've been sent out to everybody because the wording that originally was submitted, I could not find the wording. So I sent new changes. It's basically the same, it's just worded different. So you might want to just take and add the changes that I submitted to all the Federation presidents about, I don't know, 30 minutes, about 5 minutes before this meeting started, I sent it out. So everybody should have a copy of what the changes were. It actually was For the rest of yous, it was actually some additions to Group 2 during the Federation meeting in Arizona at the FedCon. And there's just basically 2 more paragraphs was added, basically 4 lines of information. And as I stated, if these minutes get approved, we could just approve them with the changes that I've submitted because everybody should have received those. Thank you very much.
Well, and just to make sure everybody understands, we broke up into work groups, and what he refers to group 2, that's the group that Tim was actually chairing or leading that group's discussion. So these are additions that you want to add to the summary coming out of your group. Is that correct, Tim?
That's correct.
Okay, so he wants to add notes from what came from the work product of his group.
Okay, so that overview of the meeting. Many of you were there. I mean, we had close to 40 presidents and their representatives that showed up, which is a great group. It really was. Large number of folks there. And I know those of you new folks, hopefully got, some kind of presentation from your past president that told you about it and what came out of it. But I tried to get the minutes as close as possible, with some general information. Obviously, we weren't going to go into the weeds on any of it. That was to take place with the topics that we found that came out as the most important things that we wanted to, give to the president, the national president, and to the NEB. So we worked on the meetings after. Of course, I was presenting the whole time, so I couldn't keep notes while that was going on. And the person I had assigned, this is going into why this is such a fun thing to be in charge of. The person I had appointed to do the minutes couldn't show up. She had to cancel at the very last minute. So one of my other folks from Arizona stepped up and she did the best she could. And I thought she did a pretty good job. So what we came up with during that meeting, there were so many things that we talked about and so many issues that came up, as you've seen on that long topics list. But it went so well. Nobody really argued or anything. It was all done with people that knew what they were talking about. So that was a great boon to have. One of the other things, a couple of other things that I wanted to tell you about too, but let me tell you real quick who was on the committee to help me with this meeting. Lynn Harper from Georgia, of course, which, we all know Lynn is just one of the best. Linda Ingram, who just voluntarily is doing this, Linda. We get these volunteer positions and it's so interesting how we get them. We're not raising our hands real high, but somebody's got to do it. And we appreciate Linda, and Linda was on the committee. Suda Haley, Suda's there. Suda unfortunately couldn't come to the meeting, but with Henry Brattle's assistance, we were able to present to her, and a couple other people got on there, a visual of the whole meeting. So some of it worked, some of it was kind of quiet. It was difficult to hear, but I think as a last minute thing, I mean, Henry is just amazing. So we appreciate that, that Suda was able to hear most of it and see what was going on. And then Tim Gartner, who you've heard from Ohio, also was a big help. And Henry, of course, who continues to help us. And Mark Opitz from Wyoming. I had picked Mark because he was in my region. He's no longer president. We have another person sitting in. I don't know if she's on the call, but Mark is no longer there. And then Sharon Reese, of course, from New Mexico, who I knew really well, and is now, of course, the Region 7 VP. There wasn't anybody else, was there, Linda?
No, I think that's pretty much the group.
Okay. A lot of high-powered people who knew what they were doing. So that was a big help to me. It really was. So then, you know, with the group discussions, we talked about the breakouts. We did that at the last conference president's meeting, dual meeting. And, you know, it worked to a point. I thought it was going to work differently than we finally ended up with, because both Linda and Lynn said that it would be better if we picked the subjects and then picked, you know, the leader of each one, of each group, because there was a lot of going over things over and over. People were able to pick their own topic. So some people picked the same thing. That's what happened in the past. So this way we gave them one thing to talk about and a leader of the group and a person to take notes during that meeting. So I think it went pretty smooth. Other of you that were there can tell us if they didn't think. Okay, I see some thumbs up. But I thought, you know, the one before, the conference before and president's meeting, I was involved in that one as far as I was there. I was a person just that was a president, a new president, and it was very confusing to me before. So I'm hopeful that we continue to do that because we came up with some good ideas. 3 documents that we put together. The one was the minutes that I hope that you went through. The second was the topics, which was the long list of all the different topics that came up that people felt should come forward. And the third document was is a priority list. And so what I'm asking of all of you is to look at, not right now, look at that priority list. Just see if it looks okay to you. Why and how we came up with that. Lynn, of course, you know, took the list apart, the long list, and, you know, remembered what we had spoken about, how much we spoke about it. And these are just things that we didn't want to give the president an NEB 50 items, because then there wouldn't be an importance to any of them. So Lynn decided that, you know, we should just do 5 or 6 and, you know, things that are urgently needed. I was glad to see during the NEB meeting, if any of you logged into that a couple of those things came up. They haven't seen our stuff yet. You know, I have talked to Bill, the president, and told him that it would be coming, but so they hadn't seen it. So I thought it was interesting that a couple of those subjects did come up, and it sounds to me like they will be working on them. I think that's pretty much the summary of what we did. Do we have questions at this point or additions at this point? Again, all I'm asking is that you go through them. If there's changes to any of them that you know of, send those directly to me. And, you know, we'll address those and get them done, because we have to create the final letter that will go to the president and to the NEB.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that is the end goal here, is that we want to put this into a letter format addressed to the national president, copies to the NEB members, that from the Federation presidents, these are the list of priorities that we came out of the Scottsdale meeting with, and that we would like their response on working with this. And we want an answer as to they support them or not, and if they do support them, you know, what kind of time frame can we expect to see these receive? And Deborah's right, at the NEB meeting, because we have at least 3 members I know of that used to be on this group, both Lynn Harper, Sharon Rees, and Stephen Roy, who all are now on the NEB, who all spoke up during this 2-day meeting that they just had, and basically offered some of these same issues as being of concern, that we're now going to be able to hopefully work at this from a couple of directions to get this done. So, so for one thing, time is of the essence, because we really need to make a decision on this. Did all of you get a chance to read the material that we sent out? Both I'd sent some in the Zoom call letter, and then Deborah sent it out again yesterday. So do any of you have questions on what we're doing, why we're doing it? Do you remember the process we went through in Scottsdale, if you were there? So we could clarify any of this now. Do I see any hands? Is silence golden? Oh, I see Richard Quintero.
Yeah, Rich Quintero from Connecticut. Would it not be easier if you guys just came up with, say, the 3 or 4 items that you think are the most important? I see items on that list that my secretary and my presidents here in Connecticut have brought to my attention a number of times. And it's about the death, a death report. I forget what else is there. But it would not be easier for the whole group if you guys came up with the 3 or 4 items that you think are the most important, and then have us take a look at it, and then we can discern at that point how far we want to move forward. Because what we're doing now, it's going to be a long process. We got 33 or 34 people on the line right now. I don't know. I'm a New Yorker originally, and I'm like, get to the point, get it done.
So we did do that, Rick. One of the documents that I sent you, it's called August 2022 President Meeting, Scottsdale, Arizona. That was the 3rd document that I sent you, and there's 5 topics on there that we came up with.
I see it.
Yeah, and wrote a little
Maybe
bit
you should
extra.
go over that, Deborah, if you want to just cover those 5 so they know this is what we boiled it down to.
Right.
Okay, so the first one was the communication guidance update for national only members. Some are using original guidance of no communication, and others are using their own process. So, one of the reasons we thought this was really important is that we have a lot more national only members now, and the chapters that have closed, the majority of those folks are going to national only. In my state, we're more than half. We're at 3/4 that have become national only. And so, we kind of are on the bench with some of the federations, sending information to their national only members, and others remembering when the past president said nothing goes to the national only members. So we want to come up with the language that will change that and, become easier for all of the federations to work with. So that was that one. Number 2, membership reports must include more specific data, such as the number of recruits by category, non-renewals by category, and reason for no renewal, reason for cancellations, etc. Need to look at renewal process, etc. Dues renewal notices, too many notices to members too early are going out. Need to promote use of credit card to pay dues, then would not need to send renewal notices out because renewal would be automatic. And we've all experienced this. It's just happening too many times. And we've got too many members that are confused by the process. And that leads us that are in charge are even more confused by it. And
okay, I've got a question for you. How would you suggest that we do it with credit cards? How would we be able to do that?
Linda?
Would National be able to do that?
Well, actually, there are some people that have been doing that on their own anyway, because if they were active employees, they weren't able to go on dues withholding, and they could they could give them a credit card to do their membership with. So the idea is to go more fully with that idea that somebody could have a credit card on file with NARFE and put in an automatic renewal process. The whole renewal process needs work. As I've said, there's things with the, the way we go about it. We basically ask everybody at renewal, do you want to be a member of NARFE? And there's a long history behind why the whole renewal process kind of went sideways when we went to, you got to be a national member before you could be a chapter member. A lot of that comes out of the 2016 convention, but we need to make the renewal process feel more automatic for people, so that it's just like when I get my AARP renewal or I get my AAA renewal, it just says, here's what your bill is, this is your invoice. It's not an invitation to rejoin or continue. It's just my invoice, so that people are not doing there's things that can be done to make this less onerous and more just like, this is your bill, just pay it, and if you could pay it automatically, even better.
Thank you. I feel exactly the same way. Okay.
Right, and NARFE is doing that now. They tested that out as far as, the dues withholding and the credit card. So it's been tested out in a couple of ways. And so I'm hopeful that they will do something about that. So then the third one, I'm sorry if you hear a cat meowing. I can't mute the cat. Number 3, the M112 for national only members. Please, we need that. Currently, federations get no information other than the info on the member roster for national only members. Thus, how can federations welcome new members, encourage members to renew, etc.? Federations don't even know when a national only member passes away unless a member of the family notifies the federation. So we need that information. 4, NARFE manuals and regulations need to highlight the changes made or put a listing of the changes in front of the updated document, which we all get in our health insurance books that they send us every year. So we're hopeful that National will look at that. Let's see. Okay, manuals. By doing this, users would know what changed rather than having to go section by section to ascertain the changes. Then number 5, another item is a standardized report that indicates deaths by month by federation for both chapter and national only members. In the OAM, there was a standardized report for deaths of chapter members. A report is needed that includes both chapter and national only members. Most federations have a memorial service at their annual or biannual conferences, and they need to include all members and not just chapter members. So these were the 5 that we thought were urgent. And I just repeat that because all of these other topics are important and we think NARFE should take some action on them, but there's a lot of them. So we just tried to hit the ones that we thought were the most important. So those are the ones that we're going to ask you, if that's okay. You don't have to send anything. No message says I'm okay with it. But if there is something that really stands out to you, please let me know.
So I saw a couple other hands raised. With those people, if you still have a question, put your hand back up. Okay, Loreno, is that it? You need to unmute yourself.
No, I agree with what she said. No problem.
Okay, so let me go. Say, Richard, you still got yours up, but I think you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Michael.
No, I'm good.
Michael?
Yes, I'd like to speak a little bit about the credit card. That can create a problem if you've ever had your credit card compromised and had to have a new number. You're going to have to go in and notify everybody of what your new number is. And I don't believe right now that there's enough staff in the headquarters at NARFE to handle that. I think we probably need to take a better look at that.
Well, there are most people are on 1, 2, or 3 year renewals. So you know, I've had, it doesn't just happen when your credit card is compromised. If your credit card has an expired renewal date, there's a process by which you have to restate what the credit card is before you could go through the renewal process, and they can send you a message. A lot of those processes can be automated. I would say that that's one element of this, but overall, the whole renewal process needs a lot of work to make it easier for people to just renew without having to go through a lot of thinking about, you know, what box do I need to check to keep from getting myself to basically from removing myself from a chapter and putting myself in national only, which happens a lot because those renewal forms keep changing and they people get confused. And next thing they know, they're off in national only land and nobody knows where they are because the chapters can't even see them anymore. So they don't know if they went away or died or whatever. But I mean, your point is well taken, that anything they do like that, they've got to be aware of and take care of all those security issues that go wrong with using credit cards at all. Michael?
I still think dues renewal is not an issue if you can get more people to go on dues withholding. I try to push dues withholding every time I get a chance.
Well, but on the active employee side, they can't use dues withholding. That's the
I
point.
realize that, but most of the people that you're dealing with on chapter and national are retirees, and and they can use dues withholding.
Actually, I just did a quick look at the people in the state of California who are on the national only list. And there's a huge number of them that are listed as active employees, huge number of them.
That's
So
fine, we can still push that, but I still think that dues withholding is an easier way that we can get more.
we definitely want to keep pushing. In fact, we need to push harder on it. I know, I think in my own chapter, 53% of us are on dues withholding. We need to make those numbers a lot larger. So yes, Thomas.
So just a couple of ideas. One is I would suggest that this body send forth a suggestion to the NEB that they have members put in 2 credit cards when they are on auto pay. In case one of them goes out of business, then the other one can be picked up. I was on auto pay for my membership and also for NARFE. Membership got dropped inexplicably. I kept getting all these emails saying your membership is going to cancel, your membership is going to cancel. And I called National, talked to a lady on the phone. She said, no, your membership is fine. You know, we're going to renew it. So there is this is something that can be automated, and I encourage NEB to put more money into automation of this and have sort of a backup safety method. The second thing is I would push NEB and suggestions on the national only listing, which Federation presidents can generate. There is a column for deaths. Unfortunately, there's no dates in there, and there are very few people listed. Sometimes it just says the name of a spouse. Sometimes it says the name of the member. So that national only listing has got a column ready to go for date of death. Somebody at national needs to program that to pick it up from whatever sources there are. That's all.
Yeah, and of course when we talk about this M112 for national only, that there is a place for deaths reported on the M112, and we get that kind of information for chapter members, but we don't get it routinely for national only. And so when, as this write-up said, when federations typically will do an in memoriam for their past members, And you have a hard time pulling that information for the national only side. The other thing I'd say is that even the M112, I think, you need a way to be able to just select certain parts of that information you want to retrieve a report on, because sometimes you don't want to know everybody that renewed and got a second notice and reconsidered or transferred or whatever. You just want the part that tells you how many dropped, or maybe you want the part that says how many died and who, and so you want, I would like to see more flexibility in that report. We've talked about that in the AMS working group too, that's another one of the report flexibilities we would like to see. But point well taken. Let's see, Cynthia. You're on mute.
Okay. I have a question because I'm new at this. Is there an M112 that I can find who passed away, national only members, or is that not available to anybody?
No, that's what we're asking for.
Oh, so we can't get that information. And do we have a list of all our national members somewhere I can find them? Contact
Well,
list?
as a federation president, you have access to the national only members in your federation. You're one of only a couple of people. Well, actually, there's supposed to be more. I would diverge. The federation president and the national legislative director are supposed to be coded to give you access to the national only members, and you should see that on your dashboard. That's one of the buttons you can see. The CDLs are also supposed to have that, but it's tricky to get the position codes in there to give them access to national onlys, but that's supposed to be there too. But you as federation president should be able to see a button that says national only members. And if you click on that, it will give you access to them. You can look at it in these groups of scrolling pages, or you can export that to Excel.
Because I really believe with the way things are changing now, we need to get more information to the national only members. They might not, they might not want to be part of going to lunch with you once a month, or, doing functions, because many of them are working and they don't have time for that. But at least we need to get the information out to them to show them how important it is for us to keep working on this.
Well,
and through them, they might be able to bring more people in.
Right. A lot of the grassroots advocacy things. I mean, I would assume that's one of the reasons they joined, was for legislative advocacy and knowledge. So the number one issue that Deborah pointed out, the one on communication, it addresses that exact thing. It has been since this whole concept of national only members came up after 2016, when they eliminated the giant e-chapter, the prime directive was that we were not supposed to contact them. And back then, they were mostly people who had joined the e-chapter, and now they became national only members. They were not people who moved out of chapters into that. Now we have a large number of those people who used to be chapter members, and now for various reasons, including chapter closures, are over there. And from my perspective, and I'll preach a bit here, the California Federation used to be the California Federation of Chapters. And we're now the California State Federation. And our bylaws were changed to show that we support chapters and national only members alike. So it's the world has changed, and the national direction on communication, I believe, needs to change to reflect that, because we have half or more of our members are now national only members, and we need to, you don't want the chapters calling them up every week and asking them to come to unless they indicate that maybe they would like to have that kind of communication. But this, you can't contact them for for any reason just doesn't make sense. So that's what we
Yes.
are talking about. We want
Yeah.
them to revisit that and give us some better guidance.
That's
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Joe DeSera.
Yes, I've been busy closing chapters for the last 12
We all
months.
have.
Okay, so I was working with Lynette Green, very capable person. Then I heard she said goodbye. I'm not doing this anymore, and she's gone. I mean, she might have got a better offer, but she was overloaded. And now they passed the baton to Tawanda. And I talked with Tawanda because I'm trying to close another chapter. They want to close out their accounts and be finished. And she tells me that there is a moratorium due to staffing on closing chapters. What? A moratorium on closing chapters because of staffing. Is that a mouthful of sadness or what?
Well, okay, I think this is something that I would like to send a note to Lynn at Harper and ask her if they're aware of this, because I don't know if has anybody else heard this? I think it would be important. I've got a package ready to go to Tawanda right now on closing a chapter. We've got several more, unfortunately, in the works. So we can't, I mean, some of these chapters have money in the bank. You know, we need to get them closed before everybody dies and there's no signature card to, you know, to get the bank accounts closed. So I
But
will
to give that job to Tawanda, who's already busy enough.
absolutely.
It's telling me that it's not going to be fixed anytime soon until they hire somebody who knows how to close chapters and can finish the job.
Okay, well, it's I don't think we can put it on this list right now, but I think that's something we need to get a straight answer on, and I'll see what I can find out, okay? If I do, if anybody else has any knowledge of that or wants to, if you find out anything and get it to me, then I will communicate it out to everybody. So let me go on to Tim Carter.
Okay, the only thing I had was about the deceased national only members. If y'all looked at Henry's YouTube videos, he had on there a memorial program that he did at his convention. He also, at the tail end of it, included the national only members from his state. So the headquarters has the capabilities to get the deceased national only members for each state. And from everything I understand, all you have to do is let national know that you want the deceased member for the national only members, because it was given to Henry because it was in his video. So the capability is there. And for right now, anyway, we can at least contact national, and until they get a program set up where we can do it ourselves, they should be able to provide us with the deceased members for national only members. So I just want to let you guys know that, because, you know, like I said, I seen it on his video where he had at the tail end, his program identified all the national only members that passed away in his state. So it is there, and that's a short means, but I'm in agreement that I would like to have it the way it used to be, where we just select our deceased members for each state.
Right, and I think the you know, several of us remember that used to be the common way of getting that immemorial information. But, you know, at the same time, the staffing at national, it's my understanding, they're down from 60 people to something like 24 now. So all of the kinds of support we used to get from them for a lot of these things is slim to none for some of these areas now. And for personally, I would like to see them spend their time trying to get a hold of the membership issue, and give us the authority and the tools to do a lot of this other stuff out in the field, so we don't have to play Mother May I every time we want a piece of information from them that we could do it ourselves and not have to bug them. They just need to make sure we've got the access and the tools to get to it. Let's see, Richard, are you still, Richard Quintero, do you have a question?
No, I couldn't, I don't know how to put my hand
To
down.
get rid of the, someplace there's a low, under participants, look down under participants. Isn't there?
Reaction.
Reaction.
Where is
And
it?
Did it go down?
Is it?
In reaction, you should get the hand down.
Oh, yeah, I know. I see. Okay, I see. It says lower hand.
Okay. Okay, so Pat Whitley.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I just got a list of deceased members for my conference, so I can do the memorial service as well. And it's totally incomplete. My membership chair is going crazy. She's relying on chapter presidents to verify. And a lot of that national only member stuff doesn't show a chapter number. It just shows the name. And once they're gone off of the records, there's no way you can find it, because they, once the death has been reported, you can't go back and find it unless you happen to have old chapter rosters. And
right, and
that's
part of
that's
that
the
is
hard part.
Part of that is an AMS issue, because I noticed that a
Right.
lot of times on those reports, they take the person and rather than them listing them as a chapter member, they'll now say that they're LSA, which technically means they're a national only member within the support region of some chapter. But they should not be doing that. I mean, Lee Zajac, who was our long-term president of the California Federation, and he's been a national officer before and everything. When he died, his information stopped showing him as a member of the Vallejo chapter. It's just crazy when you see the people who are doing this up there or doing this for the AMS system do not realize that for the people in the field, these kinds of pieces of information are important. And they make these kind of unilateral decisions to change data when it's information we actually use and need out here. So I agree with you.
And Tawanda also told me last time I spoke with her, there's nobody in the IT department. They basically have no IT department.
That's true.
And that's just so frustrating.
They're trying to hire a database administrator, but to be honest, I don't think they can pay them enough for anybody to take the job. So Carrie Gibbs.
Hi there. Whoops. Okay, I'm unmuted, right?
Yeah.
I have a headphone, so I do it by hand. So a lot of in Idaho, a lot of the problems with the renewals and losing people, we are getting close to 3/4 of our membership is national only. A lot of it comes because when they get their renewal, they don't know to add their chapter dues, and headquarters doesn't know what every chapter has for dues, and some don't
Right.
have any and some have, so they don't have that on there. You have to put that on yourself. And so they're not doing it. So we lose people that way. They come to meetings and then we find out, let them know that, hey, you're not in our chapter anymore. They pay our chapter treasurer, then we call headquarters and tell them that we have been paid, and they get them put back on the other roster. The last thing I heard was that headquarters actually only has about 11 people on staff, but they are working with a lot of the, it sounded like from the meeting last week that Johan is working with Mark Mickelson. You are not muted. But it sounded like there's a lot of Johan is working directly with the new company, and that with our the old company, the only thing we've got going with them is actually the licensing for is it MSN or something? Not MSN, Microsoft. And they're really not doing anything at all, but the new company is doing stuff, but he has to be on them every day.
Kumo Partners is the one you're referring to, the one they talked about there, which I think they pick them up to try to pick up some of the slack from ProTech. But there's still a big issue of where to go with this because the AMS system is kind of becoming, well, it's from its inception, it's been a drag on, I think, on the federations and the chapters, because we haven't been able to get accurate data out for a long time. There's a group of us working with the CAB that are trying to figure out where all these inaccuracies are coming from. You know, the fact that you can add up all the people on your dashboard, it doesn't match the number on your dashboard, you know, all those kinds of things where there's just a huge number of issues with the way they identify the chapter, the way they identify the person, you know, what you have to do to clean up your own data to get an accurate count. I mean, it's a mess. So
Also, I was going to say, we have taken the approach that all of our federation newsletters go out to everybody that has an email address and everybody that we have a physical address for, either or. They don't all, I mean, that was never, even back when it was just an e-chapter separate that Dave handled. They didn't all have email addresses, and so they didn't want to be bothered. But now we notify them of everything, and we actually had quite a few people, national only members, that responded to our November meetings, because that's when we handle FEHB and have guest speakers and stuff. And it's brought in a lot of them. We're actually looking at a national member to be on our federation board, because there's some interest, but you have to let them know. Sometimes they're not on national only. They're only on national only because they didn't know they needed to pay chapter dues. And so
exactly, there's a lot of them out there like that. And we didn't make that an item on this list. I think everybody knows this is just a fundamental issue of the how national views chapters and all that. So there's a lot that would have to be done. It's not on our list here, you know, but the communication is, and we definitely need to work on that, because I believe that we're going to be some large amalgam of national only members and some remaining chapters when this all shakes out. So we just don't know. Listen, guys, we've talked about this for quite a while. These, I think you understand what we were trying to do with this list. You guys have all identified issues with some of these same things, and I'm glad we got the recording going. I tried to keep track of some of this, but I don't know how you want to handle this. I would recommend, for purposes of trying to move ahead with getting this package prepared, a letter to the national president, that if we could vote to approve the group of 5 items that we have come up with here for this initial list. And this is not the only things we're talking about working on, because we will continue on. But if we could get this list approved and then give it to Deborah, we can come up with a letter and go ahead and send that to the NEB. The national president is asking for it. He is eager to get on with us, and you'll see the next item on the list is that Suda's going to talk about, is he wants to schedule a joint NEB Federation presidents meeting. So I would like to get this done and in his hands, so we've got that in front of them before we have this Federation presidents meeting.
Linda,
Yes.
Linda Lloyd Woods from Maine.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to make a motion that we do exactly that. Present these 5 with a cover letter to the president and go
Okay.
from there.
Rich Quintero in Connecticut, second the motion.
Okay, all right, guys, I appreciate that. So can I get a show of hands, or do I hear any objections to? I see a lot of hands. Do I hear any objections? it's silent, so I'm going to assume, Earl, were you raising your hand to object or just because you have something else to say?
I approve the motion.
Okay. So Lloyd motioned and Richard seconded. And I will say we by assent, we approved. Okay. So Deborah, would you take the lead on getting that letter prepared and then we can send that to Mr. Shackelford, President Shackelford, and copy the NEB, and then we'll have that in our hands when we meet with them. How's that? Everybody happy with that? John.
Yeah, John from Jersey. Just as a point of information, can we as presidents receive a copy of that letter?
Absolutely. I'll send it out to everybody.
This way we can provide that information even to our chapters so that they know that we as presidents are trying to do something.
Okay. I think that's really good. And I'll talk a little bit about this other large list, moving forward. We're not done just because we have 5 items here. We have a lot more things to work on and to try to get action moving at the NEB level too. And one of the things I do know is that several of the members that were a member of this group that have moved on to the RVP positions and the NEB have gone there with the attitude that they want to push to get more action out of that group. So I think that's great. All right, so next on the list, thank you, Deborah, by the way. Suda got a call from the national president about the joint Federation NEB meeting, and I'd like to let her talk about that conversation and what he's asking of us.
Okay, first, total non-disclosure, okay? I am not related to Nikki Haley. She's an Indian American, and I know her, and I've met with her several times, but I'm not related. All right. On to President Shackelford. As a matter of fact, he came to our Maryland Federation Board and Officers meeting just a week ago. So it's very, very new that he has given us all of his priorities at that point. I would like you to know that, and of course, we know in June we're going to have the LegCon. But what he would like to do is, since this is an odd year in between when we won't have any kind of a legislative conference as such, we should have a virtual NEB and Federation Presidents meeting. And I'd like to bring it to all of you now and to find out if you feel this is a good idea, how you would like to go about it, what are the kinds of things you would like to have President Shackelford and us work on, and so on. So I'm going to open it up now, and Linda, if you can kind of field questions or whatever.
So I guess the first question is, everybody on board with the idea? I mean, quite a few have been to a joint President's NEB meeting, but this would be another one of those, and this would be the one for 2023. So I personally, I think the more times we remind them that, we are the people that head up these organizations that really have all these members in them out there. So I think it's a good thing personally, but what's everybody else?
Yeah, Pat has a question.
Well, I just wanted to make the comment that I wholeheartedly agree that we need to FaceTime virtual with the national president. We don't even know yet his agenda.
Okay. Well, I mean, definitely Linda can invite him to one of our meetings, but this is more to say, supposedly in August usually is when we have these conferences and all, like the Scottsdale one. We didn't have it before. So this time, could we now have a virtual meeting of the NEB and the Federation presidents? So
I think that's an excellent idea. Excellent,
okay,
excellent.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see, how about Carrie?
Okay, I wasn't next, but I'll be next. Okay, so usually the president's NEB meeting usually took place in July, right after the 4th of July holiday in the opposite year of the National Convention, which was in August of right before Labor Day weekend of every year, which just really messes up my family plans. But anyway, so the NEB next meets in April. I don't think we can put ourselves together that fast, but possibly. I think they've already got an agenda for that meeting.
No.
But
We're talking about August, or, you know, when we might have had like the.
so now if we move it to August.
Would that be okay?
Well, or July if.
Oh, July, sure.
Yeah,
But
July is when it's been in the past, but that,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what my calendar's been set up for over the years, but I mean, I can work around it. I have vacations already planned and I'm not going to be around, but we'll see.
Well, and I go to Burning Man in August, so I'm actually.
Oh, they moved it to August. Burning Man used to be right after the 4th of July as well.
No, it's the last week of August, first week of September. Yeah.
No, I have been.
Could we
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Could we possibly see hands who say July? Raise your hand if you think July is better. Or anyone who wants to have it in July. Okay, raise your hand, please. Okay, I don't see too many up there. All right, how about August? You raise your hand, please, so we can see. There are many more in August, Linda, unless you saw some others that I didn't. So August.
I can't really tell that much.
Okay. Well, if you really feel strongly about one or the other, please let us know. I mean, we're not going to make a decision at this second, but please give your input to Linda and let her know how which date you feel strongly about if you don't agree with August. All right. And then the other thing is what kind? Yes. Carrie?
Oh, I was no, I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Write it down. Write it down like the rest of us.
I was wanting to wholeheartedly agree that it's essential that the Federation presidents meet with the NEB so that they can see us on screen and know we really exist. And in this, and one of the things in this meeting that I would suggest we try to identify is what is the NEB's support for federations going forward. I sat in on the last NEB meeting last week or whenever it was and heard way too much talk about merging of federations and federations closing and that sort of thing. So my concern at this point is, does National really even want to continue supporting federations? And just one other quick point is, I had a Zoom meeting with all of the Federation chapter presidents in the North Carolina Federation about 2 weeks ago. And it was the first time the Federation had ever had a meeting with all the chapter presidents. Maybe all you guys do that, as a matter of fact, but we haven't been doing it. We will now be meeting with Federation chapter presidents for every quarterly meeting of the Federation. So for me, it's really important to be transparent and let everybody know what's going on. So with the NEB meeting, I think that I would suggest that the #1 agenda item would be just a flat and blunt. Does National support the work of our federations, or are they only concerned about National from here on out? Thank you.
And that's wonderful. And thank you, Mr. Link. What would be great if more of you would send Linda all of your suggestions on it. I know John, yes, my New Jersey person, yes. John?
Shuda, the meeting that we're trying to put together for either August or July, is that going to replace the actual presidents and NEB meeting that we normally have on an off convention year?
No, on the convention year, you have that. And then this is an off convention year. So he's asking if we could have it virtual this time. Yeah.
Okay, so he's asking for a virtual meeting instead of the actual in-person
Right.
at the location of the next conference.
Yes.
Okay, so there's be no travel involved.
Right, that's why I said that the only real issue is timing, because we don't have travel or funding to have to contend with to go to this meeting. It's, when would we like to have it? And, you know, we're meeting quarterly, so we would be normally looking to try to have a meeting in April or May, but there's a fair number of us who are having conventions or conferences in the April, May, and I think early June timeframe. There's a couple of federations in June too. So it kind of works if we hold our next meeting in conjunction with the NEB. And that time frame,
Right,
whether it's
right, definitely, the time frame, and also the items, just like Mr. Link has established one that he definitely wants to put on top of the list. These are the kinds of things that we really would like to have from your input on this kind of combined meeting.
However, let me just mention, Thomas, that that discussion at the NEB was really born, and in fact, we talked about this at length at the Federation meeting in Scottsdale, the fact that we need a Federation merger process, because we do have some federations that are in there. They only have a couple of chapters in a couple of cases. I think Wyoming is one of those, and there was a discussion at that meeting about New Hampshire and Vermont. And so there's definitely some reasons that we need to get some procedures on the books to do that. And I know we had a working group at our conference in Scottsdale that talked about what those procedures might look like. I would hope that some of that information gets carried forward by Lynn and Sharon, who are now on the NEB, to present that, because we need to get something done so it would allow these, especially these smaller federations that are down to just a few chapters, to be able to look at merging in a smart way. And I don't look at that and think that that is a lack of support for federations. I think the bigger danger I see has more to do with things like some attacks on the 10% funds, for instance.
And all of those kind of items are the ones that we would do. Michael, my compatriot, you've been waiting for some time, please. Michael Cornels.
Yes, Suda, since I was one of the addressees on that same memo that you got, and looking at it, I've got it in front of me now. There was no mention of whether it would be in person or virtual.
Well, since then, he and I have.
He wanted us to come up with some ideas.
Right, Michael, since then, we've talked to each other. And as a matter of fact, yesterday and today, and he said virtual would be best because they have some allowances for the NEB, but he wasn't sure about presidents, federation presidents. And therefore, he has suggested that virtual would be the best for it. And I mean, if you federation presidents feel so strongly that you need to be in person, please, I mean, let us know. But to me, virtual seems like we can get as many more people to be part of it than otherwise.
Okay, well, I think we need to send that back to Bill with our recommendations.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Since I'm on, let me add one thing here right quick. I'm the chairman of the Ballot Oversight Committee. And Bill has given me some more information that he would like to do than normal duties that we've had in the past. And he wants us to, and I'm asking you all for some help. We will have a committee when there's 3 or 4 RVPs that have to submit names to him yet to get the full committee. And we will be looking at increasing the number of participations in the elections. You will remember the last election, it was very poor.
Yeah, that is
They
something
want to
that,
come up with ideas.
yeah.
of
Michael,
How we
that
can
is,
improve that.
yeah,
And
that is in our discussion, the importance of voting. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
well,
it
would
is
you,
dismal. It is
with the
dismal.
other presidents, if you come up with, have any ideas, email me so I can get them together when we have this meeting. And our meeting starts, we can do something. I mean, some people have already said, well, maybe we need to have it more discussion at the annual meeting and then have the vote, the ballot afterwards. Well, time constraints, that's not hardly possible, but we can consider it. But we're going to try to consider anything that we can come up with to include, have people vote. I mean, it's a.
Absolutely. It is really, we have close to 10,000 or more members. And do you know, only about 2,000 voted in our last election. And one of the things that they are telling us is it's too expensive. They have to fill out the form and go to the post office and mail it and all of that. Of course, it's very, very expensive for us to be sending out the ballots for those, and there are many of them who are not on email. So we have to do it through the post office. So that is an expense that we have to incur, which goes into the thousands because we have so many members. But you're right, Michael. Yes, we need to, and we definitely will send you that information of what we need to.
One thing we have to remember is one member, one vote. We have to get it out to every member,
Yes.
whether they're national, have an email address or not. We have to get them a ballot.
And yet we're getting 6% participation
That's it.
for all of
That's
that.
It's dismal.
How are we going to improve that? That's the
right.
That's
Well,
the whole aspect of this thing. But so if you all would give it, you got my email address on our list.
Yeah.
Or give me a call, and as soon as we get the whole group together, we're going to have a Zoom meeting and work on this.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Linda?
That's all I've got.
Terrific. Linda, you can, this is what I was going to talk about anyway, when we get to that item of.
Yeah,
important
I
voting.
see that. I was
Right.
wondering, so that's what that's about.
Yeah, that's what that's about.
I gotcha.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
maybe we'll move that up, but okay, so let's,
Any
what-
more on this meeting of the NEB and us?
okay, now, the typical.
Oh, I'm sorry, Linda. Carrie is moving her arm.
Okay,
hand.
Carrie.
I finally remembered what I wanted to say. So I think we really do need to meet again. We need to meet again to discuss the points that we want to have for breakout sessions when we do meet with the NEB. Zoom allows for breakout rooms, so we can still split us all up. We can all come together and have a meeting like this, and then we can all split up and have our own little chat about whatever topics that they haven't addressed yet that we want to hammer out, and then come back together and present that to them at that point. And the voting thing, which is off the topic here, but back to the voters thing. In Idaho, there's a lot of complacency. People, they just seem, we are a very small federation. We're only 800, we're 800 plus members. But we have a lot of people that are just complacent about voting, about all the ballots. Because they've been around a long time, they just assumed that they were going to be taken care of like we were in the past, where we would, as a chapter, decide what to do, and then we took our proxies and voted. And I think that they still think that we're voting like that, and that's not the case. We tried to get them out to vote. We covered them in our chapter meetings, but that only goes so far. Anyway, that's all I have to say. But, oh, and also that actually, as far as getting together, our chapter, my federation has a lot of money right now because we haven't gone anywhere in 3 years. We haven't done LegCon. We did go to the conference. I did go to the conference last year, and we paid for 2 national only members to go as well. But we don't, so we have the money to go meet, but that puts an extra burden on headquarters to find a place and food and lodging and all
Yeah.
of that. So I can see where this would be just a whole lot cheaper to keep it on a Zoom platform.
Yeah,
Okay,
we have so many, if you heard so many federations that are receiving supplemental funds because they get less than $7,000 in 10% funds now, that I don't think putting any burden on them, or then turning around to national, who's also hurting for funds. They had to reprogram money to.
so,
just-
virtual. Yeah, virtual seems to be the way. I have 2 more people and I don't want to take all of the time for this, but Henry and Earl are in line. Yes, Henry.
Yes, I'd like to suggest that we look at how we can help headquarters. It's clear that with the number of resources they have, there are different tasks that are not being done. Perhaps we could get some volunteers from our federation members to, by teleconference, by whatever, dialing in and doing something, take care of some of these tasks that need to be done in order for our federations to be able to get what we need, and agree to do it for 3 months, for 6 months, until they get people hired. We're not saying that we'd be a permanent solution, but give something to headquarters that would allow us to get what we need back into the federations and chapters.
So you're talking about volunteering.
Yes, I'm talking about people volunteering from the field to be on the phone and do checks, whatever is needed, but to be assistant to headquarters until they get the hiring process done. It's nice to say, oh yeah, just go hire, but the reality is it doesn't happen overnight.
Right. Okay, Earl?
Are you coming back to the question of voting and later on?
No, since my name is both, I don't want to take more of your time. So
Okay.
if you have something, please go ahead.
I do. We are, of course, going to have a federation election here in about 3 months. And I've been rolling over in my mind, how can we give the people an opportunity to vote without sending 2,600 ballots? So my idea is to give people a chance to request a ballot by texting to me or to our secretary their 8-digit number. Then I can look it up. I can check that they're eligible to vote. I can get their name and address, and we will mail them a ballot. And I'm thinking that we may get 50 requests.
But Earl, what we found out is there are so many that don't use the internet or texting or these kinds of advanced things. What would you do
The
for
alternative is they can also not text us. They can call us on their dial phone and give us the 8-digit number. Or they can go on our website and get a ballot. So I think if we give them the opportunity to vote, we don't need to mail 2,600 ballots to people who are going to put them into the recycling bin.
Thank you.
There
Okay.
was
that make sense?
There was actually some discussion, and I thought when John Dowie was still the Secretary Treasurer, that he had set something up with the magazine so that you could put an announcement in the magazine of your convention/conference, and you could put something in there about who to contact if you want a ballot to vote. And and in his mind, then that satisfied the 1 member, 1 vote criteria. And I would do something like that, if they want to vote, that we give, and the magazine everybody gets and supposedly everybody reads. I don't know how much more you can reach out to them if you don't go knock on their doors. So you tell them, if you want to vote, here's the contact information from the magazine, and if they contact you, then you send them a ballot.
Okay, Michael?
Yes, you can, that's been something that's, some federations have used in the past, putting it in the magazine.
Mhm.
I know in our next election, I'm sure going to put it in the magazine. Because the first time we did the one member, one vote, I had to make mailing labels for 500 people, typing them in individually. Simply because the AMS has not gotten us where we can create mailing labels. The AMS is a disaster.
We know that for sure. Yep. And think about us in Maryland with over 10,000 of these. I mean, many do have emails, but many don't. Okay, Joe?
Well, I'm just saying, I sat in on an NEB meeting, but when you sit in on an NEB meeting, they don't see you, they don't hear you, you're just a shadow in the dark. What makes you think they're going to allow 40 live people to get in on their NEB meeting and talk and give all that input? They're going to fight it.
No, it's going to be President Shackelford who is going to originate this meeting as a combined meeting instead, because we have one like the one in Scottsdale, and now we're going to have this this year because we don't have one of a convention meeting.
I know.
He wants
I'm just talking about how are you going to do 50-something people on Zoom and stay organized, because they're so used to their one screen and they're looking at each other. And now you add 40 Federation presidents to the picture, they're not going to like it.
Give our NEB a little. I think we can at least try. You think we can attempt to do this? So let's think about that and attempt to do this. So
if they do squawk about it, maybe we could get 1 or 2 Federation presidents from each region to represent the rest of them. And then you'll end up with a smaller number. Just possible.
I don't think there'll be any problem with that group getting together, but mainly because the complexion of the NEB has just changed too. We now have a bunch of newbies that came from the Federation presidents, and they understand the frustrations that we have. These guys have gone there with the express intent to try to improve communication and get some of these long lists of things that we have concerns with, start getting some answers and some action on them. So I don't think that's going to be that big an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. Okay, I've taken enough of your time on both of the issues that I was going to speak about. Namaste. Thank you very much.
So I think you're looking for ideas and stuff, right, Sudha?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
and to send them to you because you are the person, and then you and I will definitely talk.
Okay. So I think as far as the answer back to President Shackelford, I think we ought to tell him that August or July would be our preference, and that we need to understand kind of what he's looking for before we can start working on. Now, for those of you who don't know, like Deborah talked about how we did this for Scottsdale. In advance of Scottsdale and the NEB and Federation Presidents meeting, and then the joint meeting, we a smaller group of us work together, and we take volunteers on anybody who wants to be a part of that. And we came up with from the input where everybody said, here's the issues that we're concerned with. We consolidated that into the 5 working groups that we then put together with a cross section of big chapters and big federations and little federations, and then assign somebody to be the chairman of that. And then that was the breakout groups that went out and worked on those issues. The one that and Deborah alluded to this, before we'd done this, where we had like 3 issues that every workout group had to go off and look at and come up with things, and it was rushed. And then we had a lot of duplication when we came back together and started reporting on this. This way, every group had their own issue to work on. And then when they came back, that's what they reported on, were the things they came up with about that particular issue. I think it was much more efficient to do that. So I would think that we would look to do something similar with this. So we figure out the 5 issues that we want to go off into breakout sessions and work on, and then get back together. If that's the format that he's thinking about for it, we kind of need to understand that. But the answers are, yes, we all agree we need and want to do this. We think it's important. B, you know, the time frame is that period of time, we believe. And then I think, given that, we need to have a group that that coalesces to come up with what everybody thinks the major issues are. And I can ask you guys all to send me back your thoughts on what you think the issues are. And then I can send out a SurveyMonkey survey, which is something I did last year before the Scottsdale meeting on membership and membership reports. I can do something similar to kind of figure out what we collectively think are the biggest issues. And then we can use that to form our groups for the Scottsdale meeting. That sounds like a plan.
Absolutely. Excellent. Yes, thank you very much. Okay.
Henry. Oh, Henry's on the phone. No. Okay. All right. So sounds like, and Sudha, you're going to talk with President Shackelford. We're going to send him the minutes from the Scottsdale meeting, the things that he was asking for about that I talked to you about this morning, the package of the information, and tell him when we have the letter from that Deborah's going to put together, we'll send that off to him. And then if you'll take care of the joint meeting conversation, then we'll, because I'm actually really heartened by the fact that he's reaching out to us to want to participate in this. And so I think we definitely want to encourage that. Okay.
He's definitely approachable. I mean, when he came to our federation, oh my gosh, everyone just loved him. Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, so we got through that. It is, we said we were going to meet until 2 o'clock my time, 3 o'clock. But what are we at? So we have about 20 minutes left. That if you notice on the agenda, we've got this long list of stuff here. Now, when looking back at Lynn's notes, she said that the things we didn't get to at the November meeting, we should put at the top of the list for this meeting, which is what I've done. So the things like mentoring program, communications, status implementation of new Federation chapter website, importance of voting, which was Sudha's issue, storage of records were issues that we did not address in November. And I'm going to be real honest, when I looked at those, that didn't give me enough information to know. I mean, I know that we want to do these things. I don't know if an individual had wanted to put mentoring programs, for instance, on the list, and if anybody has a task to address that or has some ideas on it. Do any of you know? I'm not seeing any rousing answers here. Given that we're
Linda.
Yes, John
here, from Jersey. If I remember correctly, a number of Federation meetings ago, there was a federation that had said that they put together a binder of duties for the Federation president, secretary, treasurer. Okay. I think now I'm sorry that I don't remember the federation that did that. If we could get that federation to come up with what they put together instead of reinventing the wheel, I think that could be a good product for mentoring our members. And each of the federation would be able to put together something for the chapters.
Right. Does anybody recognize that as something that came from your federation? Pat?
I think it was Georgia Federation. If you go to the Georgia Federation's website on NARFE, they've got a host of very, very useful information, and mentoring is on there. I haven't looked at it lately, but shortly after I became Federation president, I started searching around for stuff. And Georgia is a big federation, and they're close to us here in South Carolina. So Lynn has put a lot of stuff out there on the Georgia website, and that, I think that's where it came from, but I'm not positive.
Okay, I will follow up with Lynn on that, and because that sounds like something that, and it kind of falls into something else I was thinking about too on training. We've got FedHub, you know, it is a tool and it can be used to share a lot of information. And so I think that we need to look at these things that different federations have done that we could share. And those kind of binders on duties and responsibilities for chapters and federations would be excellent. I was also talking to within my executive board about training, and I think at the federation meeting in Scottsdale, there were a couple of federations. Henry, I was thinking one of them might have been you. We talked about like tutorials and stuff like that are available out there on your websites, or I think you put some stuff out on YouTube. And I would like for us to collect all of who are the federations that have that to begin with, and then get together and see what we could do to have a repository or a site on FedHub or whatever that would link to all these, so people that want to know more about how to be a chapter treasurer or how to be a newsletter editor or whatever these things, these ones we have, that we could access those now and then build on that repository over time. Yeah, Frank?
Yes, I do have some guidelines that I developed here as Federation President in the past. It's about 5 years old, but I've updated certain categories of it. I'll send you that file and you can take a look at it and see if it's applicable for what you're talking about. Okay,
because we were going to go out and try to invent that wheel. And I said, hold on, I think there's a bunch of people up there. And Henry, do you not have some of that also?
We have a little bit, but the chapter or the federation that had the most, I think, was Virginia in our area. And
Is that Constance Bales? Was she the?
She was there before, but the new president, Bob Martin, is online. Bob Martin,
Where are you?
He's, well, on my screen, he's just diagonally below you.
Yeah, we all see different ones. Let me see. That's on my second page.
The North Carolina Federation now has just updated its policies and procedures manual for all those things, you know, how to run chapter meetings, how to elect chapter presidents, how to do all that kind of stuff. And we've also updated our procedures manual for how to hold an annual meeting. And all the things you have to do. So we'd be happy to share that.
Okay. Thomas, I'm going to put you down on that list. Actually, what I would like to do, if you guys are willing, would be to call a separate meeting of everybody who might be interested in working on a project, on trying to collaborate and see what we can do between what Henry has done with YouTube and what the capabilities we have with FedHub, which, you know, this ought to be something we could use it for, to collaborate and figure out what we all have and make that available across federations. And you know, that would help, because the training thing is obviously that I get feedback all the time from chapter people who say, I don't know, I came to a meeting and I walked out as treasurer and I really don't know what I'm doing. So I think we need to do a much better job of getting people trained so that they're not afraid to take these jobs on, because they don't know what they're doing and they don't feel like they've got any support. So can I
Here, here.
ask? Yeah.
I just said here.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
And Henry's the master of making YouTube videos telling people how to do things.
Absolutely.
It's just one of his amazing talents. So
Yeah.
thank goodness for Henry.
Linda, if I could take 30 seconds, I am going to be sending out a graphic to all of you. It'll be for the President's Day event, February 20th. It's going to be a flat graphic that you can just cut and paste, and I will give it to you as a JPEG, as a PNG, as a PDF, and as a Word file, so you can work it how you need to. I will get a copy of it down to the size that'll go into NES without making you go through 2 hours of work. And that'll be coming to you later tonight or tomorrow.
Great, great. Well, what do you think about those of you who are interested in working on a committee to work on training and mentoring resources, like we could just call it that? Get in contact with me, give me your information, and I'll set up a separate Zoom call so that we could talk about that and sort of take an inventory of what resources we have, especially if you guys have already done something. I would really like for you to be on the committee, at least long enough so we could get information on whatever you have done. So Earl, you've got your hand raised.
Yes, I'm also in my last few months of my 4th year, and I'm not running for re-election. And we actually have 2 blank spots on our slate of candidates. And one of my regrets is that I didn't spend maybe a quarter of my time trying to spot possible future officers and trying to mentor them, shall we say, or interest them, or just develop a connection that would, when I call for nominations, there would be a better chance of response.
Yeah,
So,
I actually have said the same thing. I believe succession planning is something we need to be doing more of and a better job of. It's a little difficult because everybody has to run for office, but for instance, I would say, you know, the executive vice president is like the president in waiting, if you think of it that way, so that you would always be training people for that next job. But you know, I just think we need to do more of mentoring and succession planning to have people ready to take over the jobs and not have to strong arm them at the last minute to get somebody to take a position. So I'll leave that at that. You guys all have my information. If you would send me an email and let me know that you're interested to be a big part of that committee, we'll work on that one. That is part also of one of the kind of issues, like I worked on membership this last year. I did a big presentation there at the national meeting, and I'm continuing on the membership theme of trying to get the membership reports to a point where we can actually use that information. And I will continue working on that moving forward as well. So we're almost out of time. I think what we ought to do with the rest of this list, and unless there's something right now that you feel like we need to discuss today, if anybody does, we could bring that up now. Otherwise, we'll just roll this list forward And I will try to survey you guys to see where we stand and what we think we ought to tackle next. I see Cynthia's hand raised.
First of all, I'm Cynthia Quintanilla from the Louisiana Federation, president. I'm enjoying meeting all of y'all at the Federation in Phoenix. I had fun putting people to real faces, but this April is our conference and I have moved from Louisiana to Mississippi. So I will no longer be the Louisiana president. And, but I do have somebody that's interested in it. She will be hopefully taking my place. And I hope to eventually get more involved in Mississippi and the district here and continue the work with the NARFE Federation and national. So I just want to say hello, goodbye.
Well, I may be stopping by your house on my way to the beach.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, Henry,
Yes, can I have an updated list from you of all the members? And that might be something to go out to everyone, just so that the latest information is out.
yeah, Pat is going to be keeping that up, but I did take Pat's list and then I got a few bounce backs and I got some people that responded with, I'm no longer in the job. So I've updated that list. I'm going to give it to Pat and I will send that. If everybody wants it, I'll go ahead and send it out to everybody. But if as time goes on, if you've got changes that you know about, or if you leave the office and somebody else comes in, send that information to Pat Whitley so that we can keep the list up to date. And we'll try to make sure that periodically we send that out to everybody too. But I'll go ahead and send out the version that I just fixed in the last couple of days with all the communication I've sent out. Okay. All right, Michael.
Yes, I just got off the phone with Bill Shackelford. There is no moratorium on closing chapters. He has not issued a moratorium on closing chapters. And I questioned him about members of the bylaws oversight committee. He has not gotten any names from the RVPs. And he asked me before this meeting's over to let all the Federation presidents know, if you've got somebody that would be interested, call him directly and let him know the names. And as far as any other committees, if you've got somebody that would be interested, call him and let him know. And if the committee's full, he'll let you know. If not, they can put people on the committees. But he's trying to get these committees filled as fast as he can.
So Michael, that is
we can help him in doing that.
Michael, that is the bylaws what committee?
Bylaws oversight.
Oversight committee. So
We
is that
we used to be after the ballot was done, if there was any controversy, we'd get involved, but now he's put some different ideas on the board for us to do. So we're going to be working on trying to get raise the number of people that's voting. So
okay.
If you can help us there, we'd sure appreciate it.
Okay, so everybody who has an RVP out there, I actually was thinking about this because I sat through the NEB and I thought, I don't hear Region 8 putting forth any names. So I was planning on talking to our RVP about whether or not he's offering up candidates, because we don't want to be left off those committees. So I will definitely be looking at that as well. Okay. Let's see, Henry. Did you just not take your name down, your hand down?
I forgot to take my name down,
Okay.
sorry.
John.
Yeah, Linda, just out of curiosity, has headquarters ever come out with a brand new or some kind of a matrix of who's doing what job function in headquarters anymore?
Well, that actually was a topic of some discussion / debate at the NEB, because it was proposed by at least Stephen Roy and I think by is it Bob Allen?
Robert Allen.
Robert.
Yeah, Robert, yes, Robert, that they need to do that kind of analysis up there. And there was a lot of pushback from Johan and even from a couple of the long-term NEB members about whether we should be, whether the NEB members should be getting involved in the staffing functions and you know what people are doing. So
It's my concern is if I give a call up to headquarters, and I've done this twice now, asking for information concerning this issue. Well, that person isn't available at the moment. And I asked, well, when is that person going to be available? And they politely said, well, not anymore. So, and they said to me at the time was that, well, we don't have anybody who's taking that job function up right now.
well, and I know, and one of the things we discovered in the AMS working group, there's things like keeping in touch, keeping on top of the zip code assignments and all that happens when a chapter closes and you've got to reassign all those zip codes and all that. A lot of that fell through the cracks. That process broke when we went away from the old OAM and we went into AMS. There's nothing in AMS that takes care of a lot of that. And that's true. And when you got people that used to do jobs and they go away and then somebody else gets the job, but they don't understand the whole process and parts of the processes break. And that's what's happening.
One other point, Linda, just out of curiosity, as headquarters put out a list of which officers will be attending which conferences yet?
No, and what I understand is that now there was a list, a letter that came out from Tawanda that said, if you're looking for support for your conference, you need to send me, and she had a form that people.
Well, the thing is that I sent that form in already.
Right, and we, you know, I don't know when we're gonna hear. Now, we already, you know, we reached out to Bill Shackelford directly and invited him to California, and he's coming, but he has 2 other virtual speeches to give while he's at our conference, I know. So, because we're trying to make sure he's got the accommodations for that. So I don't know what time frame that they're working against up there, but we all know that we've got program books to print and, you know, timing to figure out and all of that. So if you're going to have a John Hatton as a virtual speaker, you need to know you're going to have John Hatton as a virtual speaker, right? So
we have our conferences in April 20, the third Wednesday of April. It's a one-day conference only. And again, like you said, I need to know because I'm going to be sending out the invites and the agenda so that I can have somebody's name in there representing headquarters.
Right.
So I don't know how long, because I did send in that form, filled it out, asked for Bill Shackelford. So now I don't know if he's coming or not.
Yeah.
So I guess my only
The deadline was tomorrow for all that.
I'd have to call him up, correct?
Yeah, just get the forms in, but you know, that's the other thing, because Francine Garner sent out that thing about, you know, letting them know so they could work all the sponsorships and stuff. I mean, that's already late to the game for the kind of money commitments that we need from sponsors to get their ads in the program books, to get the money so that we know what we can order up using their funds. I mean, so I don't know that they understand the timelines that you work against when you're putting on one of these events. And ours is a 2.5 day thing. So, Carrie.
Who?
I wondered if we had any word on whether or not Bill appointed anybody to the Sages, if he was going to continue that, because it sounded like he wanted to, but
He's reached out to a group of people and asked them to continue or to be his group. So I know he's working on that, and I was one of them. So I did respond. And I think Suda is one of them as well. So he's continuing on, which again is, we have the future of sages on this list, but I think for right now, we know that in some form, this will continue with him.
I am also one of that number.
That's right. Henry's on it as well. And I think, well, I don't want to speak for anybody else right now. Lloyd.
Yes, who was the individual that said he sent out an email just prior to the meeting?
Tim.
Okay, well, I have yet to get anything. I was just wondering who it was.
Tim, are you around? I think you're on my second page. I don't see Tim here now.
I just received it during the meeting.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I received it during the meeting.
You know,
Okay, well, if I got it, and I think I did, because I think I saw it pop up on my email, Lloyd. If you don't get it, send me a message and I'll forward it on to you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Joe.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I got the email that Tawanda sent me. And here's her words. One time I talked to her on the phone and she actually used the words moratorium, but this time she said, "Good morning, received." She's acknowledging she received my closing information. I cannot tell you at this moment as to when this will get done. This will be put in the queue. At the moment, chapters closing are on hold due to staff shortages. Okay, now, Mr. Shackelford, the president, can say that there's no moratorium, but he's not doing the work. The person that actually does the work would have a little better handle on all that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that, because this is like, there is a, Johan is chief of staff and staff works for him, or he's acting chief of staff right now. So staff works for him. What they have done on the staff side may not be totally visible to Bill. I mean, I think if this continues, we obviously have to raise the issue, and thank you, Michael, for mentioning to him, because we've got to make sure that it gets prioritization. Now, I do know if you listened in on the NEB meeting, it was Tawanda, because she was doing all that stuff in the background, putting that whole meeting together and all of the agenda items and getting all that material out to all of them. That is her job, along with, what Lynette used to do, now Tawanda does. Plus,
and Tawanda is the person
Tawanda was doing before. So
when you request the national to attend your conference, Tawanda is the person that's handling that too.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Excuse me, Linda, I'm sorry, I've got to check off. I've got to go to a town meeting tonight at
Okay.
6:30 and I've got to run. This was a great meeting. I appreciate everybody's input, but I've got to go. Peace be
Okay,
with you.
so you saw the number of things that we're asking everybody to comment back on, to Suda,
Yep.
to myself. If you want to be on if you've got stuff you want to be on this committee on mentoring and training, give me that to me. We normally would come up with a date and time for the next meeting, and I'm hesitant to do that right now until we have a firmer answer from Mr. Shackelford on what the NEB meeting is. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to delay that until we find this out, and then we'll set that meeting, and I'll send you out a save the date notice. I won't send the Zoom link yet, but I'll send you a save the date notice for when that meeting is. Okay.
Linda, this is Henry. I would
Yeah.
suggest that all of our members on the Federation, if you're not already doing it, take an Excel download from your Federation data. So you have all of the zip codes that are showing in each chapter, because once they take that out of the system, you no longer have that and you can't see what chapters, or rather what zip codes were in that chapter. And if you do like I did and didn't do it timely, all of a sudden you don't have anything but, well, it's this county, but it may have been 3 counties involved. So again, that's information that you may want to keep on a annual basis so you can go back and see where you were a year ago and put your LSAs in the right place.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry, because that is, you know, the whole process, that's another one that kind of got broken along the way with AMS too, as far as how when chapters disappear, what close, what happens to all that data too. Michael.
Speaking of the LSA, I had had conversation with national office recently and volunteered if it can be done offline or off-site, I will be doing the LSAs if it can be done this way.
Mm-hmm.
I have a procedure to do it because I've done pretty much my federation and got rid of the old zip codes that are no longer existing. Every time I go to close a chapter, I do that. So I'm familiar on how to do it, but if they can give me the permissions to go in and change them from here, I'm willing to sit down and do that. So that's a comment on that one.
Well, good. You know, I know that's something that the AMS working group, the accuracy working group, we've tried to work with Tawanda on some of those that particular issue of how to get those zip code assignments and getting the zip code assignments, the LSA assignments to the new for national only members when a chapter closes and that's no longer the nearest chapter has been one of the big things that is broken in that system. Joseph.
Yes, hello. I'm rather new, so I've been enjoying listening to all the activity on this meeting. So I feel like this is going to be a fun and rewarding experience. Being new to the group, some of these reports that were mentioned in the meeting tonight, I have not received. And my secretary, my new secretary, the former president, just sent me one of the reports while we were on the meeting. So if anyone has reports they're sending out from other than the recent updated list, please try and get your list updated. So I'm struggling enough not having the report, so it'd be nice to know what's going on. And we were one of the federations that closed the chapter at the end of December 22 for the other gentleman that was concerned about that. And we have not, that has not yet been processed either. So if it's true they're down to 11 people down there, I'm sure that they're probably struggling just like other people are. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for stepping up to the plate too, Joseph.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Are there any other comments that anybody have? Everybody know kind of what we're doing here. I'm going to save these results and work with Henry to get them posted. I mean, the recording, and then I'll review all this and write up the minutes. I don't know they'll be as eloquent as Lynn's, but I will give it a shot and get those out to you guys. And then I'll let you know when the next meeting is going to be. Okay. Any final thoughts from anyone?
There's a lot of new people here, so maybe a little point. This is kind of useful. When you start a Zoom meeting, if you can kind of modify your name by hitting the rename button and then throw in a state with your name, it kind of is useful.
Yeah, the only reason I've not done that with mine is because I have so many Zoom meetings for so many purposes, and when I've done that and it's a different organization, they look at me like, what are you doing? You know, why are you?
Good point.
Yeah, so I you know, I'm lazy. So And now I even meet with my doctor this way. So Monday was a doctor's appointment, you know. Yeah, so. All right, guys, thank you all for being here and thank you all for stepping up and being your Federation presidents and doing all this great work. And, you know, I believe a lot in this in NARFE, and I think there's a lot of heavy lifting ahead to try to turn it around. You know, we're losing so many members every month, and I am just really a big believer we gotta work on membership. And I say it, membership and money. You know, money kind of follows membership, but that's the thing. You know, if I was to write a strategic plan for this organization, it would be membership and money. That's what I'd work on. So, but we will soldier on. So thank you all for being here, and I'll get back with you with this other documents and stuff as soon as I can. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Glen Hill, DC chapter.
Uh-huh.
I was en route to work at 3 o'clock. Did you have roll call?
We did not do a roll call.
Oh, okay. I only missed about 10 minutes of opening of the meeting.
Okay, we're going to save the recording and put it up. Henry will figure out where we're going to put it up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Also, can we get a transcription of the chat box too, please?
Yeah, I think we have to, before I close it out, everybody has to say, how do you do that? You have to say, save the transcription.
Whoever opened the Zoom meeting has to do that, I believe.
I have to do that, but where is that? I haven't saved it in a long time.
You know, I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
I know, I thought it was, well, let's see, is it under chat?
Under chat, if you go on the up area, it says show chat previews.
Yeah,
So
but it doesn't show the save
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah, if you go to the bottom line, there's 3 dots there.
See, that's what I was looking for, and I don't
yeah,
see.
it says save
Oh,
chat.
there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, save chat. All right.
Thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
All right. Great. Deborah, you good? Suda, you're good? All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. All right. So I need to stop recording. Where do I do that now?